Hello and welcome back to Unrest Digest for the two of you who are watching. I thought I'd read this news article. It's got quite an interesting headline here. It's from The Guardian, so, it's definitely our favourite news site, website, paper. I don't know what you call it, news organisation. Newspaper of the year, apparently. What year? We'll never know. BBC will not broadcast Attenborough episode of a fear of a right-wing backlash. When has anyone ever cared about the right-wing backlash? What is the right-wing backlash? And what has David Attenborough done? Other than, I think everyone likes his documentaries about the Earth, the planet. I mean, I know there's a bit of, subtlety, like, this looks beautiful. And if you don't stop having hot showers, that all the polar bears will die. And there's a bit of that, like, subtext in there, but I can see past that. I mean, he doesn't outright say stuff like that, but it all soon could be gone, I'm sure he says. I think he said something along those lines. Anyway, yeah, blah, 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 there he is, by some penguins or something. BBC has decided not to broadcast an episode of David Attenborough's flagship news series on British wildlife because it fears its themes of the destruction of nature would risk a backlash from Tory politicians and the right-wing press. Who the hell is the right-wing press? What, the Daily Mail and the Sun? Is that the right-wing press? Are they talking about the alternative press that's right-wing? I mean, they don't care about that. And since when have they ever cared about the Sun or, the Daily Mail or whatever? I don't know when has anyone cared about the opinions of Tory politicians. It can't be, right? The decision has angered the programme makers and some insiders at the BBC fear the corporation has bowed to pressure from lobbying groups with dinosaurian ways. I keep making up words here. Maybe that is a word, but we all know what that means. The revelation about Attenborough's programme comes at the end of a week in which another broadcaster carried just to throw back to my last video. How are they going to link this? Has been condemned by Conservative ministers for criticising the government's immigration bill. But what the hell does Gary Lineker have to do with David Attenborough series? Well done, Gary. You've ruined David Attenborough's, what was it, Blue Planet or something? Jesus Christ. Oh, Gary. This can't be right, can it? The Fresh Rail focuses on Wild Isles, a highly anticipated news series looking at the beauty of nature in the British Isles. See, that's the issue, isn't it? It's about the British Isles. And it's a bit too, pro-Brexit, I guess. Is that what they're getting at? What's yeah. I can't see what spin. Not spin or whatever. What are they getting at? Maybe I should just read it. I'll find out. Narrated by David Attenborough, it's expected to be a hit with 5 episodes scheduled to go out in primetime slots on BBC One. But are they going to say that this is too biased or something? It's we've got Gary Lineker here saying the Tories are Nazis, and now we've got David Attenborough saying we need to save the planet, and we think that's a bit too left-wing. So we want to remain impartial. Nobody cares. Is that what they're getting? The 6th episode has already been filmed. It's understood to be a stark look at the losses of nature in the UK and what's caused the declines. It is also understood to include some examples of rewilding, a concept that has been controversial in some right-wing circles. Well, that's because they wanted to reintroduce bears and stuff back into the wild, or maybe not bears, but it was not elk, but like dangerous animals. That was. I don't think it was right-wing people we don't want any more wildlife here. We hate the environment. I mean, just because we're conservative doesn't mean we want to conserve the environment or anything like that. Not at all. We want to just sell it all and make profit. Yeah, that's definitely maybe the Tory party. Maybe that's what they want. So maybe they're not actually talking about right-wing circles, talking about the Tory party. Maybe there's some funding issues or something. Oh, that was it. They were trying to take away the license to talk about, for example, if you talk about the big, was it that big pipe where the waste was going into the water? If they talk about that issue, that I think affects the Tory party. But I think a lot of right-wing conservatives didn't like the idea of people, of a company or corporation or whatever it was, dumping shit into a river. I don't think I know anyone who likes that who isn't profiting from it. That's just me personally. Maybe there's some freaks out there who like the idea. And where are we at? The documentary, which is part funded by nature charities, the WWF and RSPB, were not broadcast along with the others and was to be available only on the BBC iPlayer service. All 6 episodes were narrated by Attenborough and made by the production company Silverback Films, responsible for previous series including Our Planet in collaboration with the BBC Natural History Unit. Senior sources at the BBC told The Guardian that the decision was made to fend off potential critique from the political right. Yeah, because they hate that, they hate critique from the right wing. It's not as if they do things deliberately to piss off right-wing conservatives, is it? They've never done that. They don't relish in that. They don't revel in it. They don't do it. They're scared. They're scared of conservatives. They're scared of the Tories. Bloody, yeah, too right, yeah. Sorry, I keep losing my place. Sorry if I come across a bit like passive-aggressive. I've had a long day and I'm really hungry. The food's on the way, apparently. This week, the Telegraph newspaper attacked the BBC for creating the series and for taking funding from 2 charities previously criticised for their political lobbying. The WWF and RSPB. Oh, okay, so there's some kind of interwove and stuff and charities and members of parliament and money and all of that. That's all it is. One source at the broadcaster, who asked not to be named, said lobbying groups that are desperately hanging on their dinosaur ways, such as the farming and game industry, would kick off if the show had too political a message. Really? Okay. You mean if you were saying things that were wrong, or you were blaming farmers? Okay. Maybe if you're talking about like bad things farmers are doing that everyone can agree with, but knowing what these people have done in the past and tend to do, not these people, but there's a lot of fake stuff about that, about farmers and stuff, and maybe it'll be because you're not eating enough beef. No, you're eating too much beef and stuff and too much meat, so all of the birds are dying. And obviously the farming industry is not going to be happy about that, and they obviously have some kind of a lobbying group that will petition the government to have a go at the BBC thing. So it seems to be a lobbying issue, and personally I don't like the idea if you're saying things that are untrue about farming industry or whatever. I mean, I could have this all wrong. But yeah, let's continue reading. One source at the broadcast, who asked not to be named, said lobbying groups that are desperately... I'm so sorry. Excuse me. They added, frankly, this idea that you sort of put in a separate program to almost parcel it to one side is disingenuous. Why don't they integrate those stories into all of them at the time? I have no idea what the hell that was on about, and I don't know what they're referencing because we haven't watched the series. Is that what they were getting at? Laura Howard, who produced the program and used to work at the BBC's Natural History Unit, said she did not believe its messages to be political. Yeah, but you worked at the BBC, so I don't want to take your opinion. Maybe they were criticising what was actually in the programme rather than just the programme itself. That's how they framed it. Almost as if like conservatives hate nature or something. She told The Guardian, I think the facts speak for themselves, We've worked really closely with it. If we haven't watched it, and I don't think this person who read this has watched it either, then you don't know what anyone's talking about. Or maybe I don't know what anyone's talking about. That could be true. RSPB in particular, who are able to fact-check all of our scripts and provide us with detailed scientific data and information about the loss of wildlife in this country. And it's undeniable, we're incredibly nature depleted, and I don't think that is political. I think it's just facts. I think it's facts. You think. But I know what they're fearing is they're going to come out and say a bunch of lies that are easily disprovable or can be disproved. And then when you say, hang on, you've been saying things that aren't true, and they'll be like, and they'll come back and be like, the right-wingers are saying that don't believe in climate change and stuff, and they're lobbying to get it cancelled for profit or something like that. It's the same battle all the time. I want to protect the environment. I don't mean, but when I say environment, I mean the stuff we can see. I don't want to see waste everywhere. I don't want to see plastics flying around. I don't want to be cutting down trees. I don't want animals to be suffering. But if you're going to go on about we got to have cold showers and stop turning on the heating so the planet doesn't get too hot, that's when you lose me. I know you can show me all of these data and statistics, and 93% of scientists agree. And yeah, we've had that before, haven't we? How can you not agree with the experts? Because they're always wrong or lying or both. But yeah, that's why there's some hesitancy on that aspect of climate change. Climate and damaging and fixing stuff is the whole look at our models, etc. That can easily get not debunked, but models are models. They're not always right. In fact, they often tend to be wrong. And when you're doing dodgy stuff like putting the thermometers to test the heat of the country on the hottest day of the year, and they were all by the runways, and they've all been moved to the runways. When you're doing dodgy stuff like that, people tend are gonna likely not believe you, even if you are telling the truth. And there is climate change or whatever. Now people don't believe you because you were lying. Anyway, that small little rant over. The producer said the film would touch on how farming practices had harmed wildlife. This is what I mean. But would profile farmers who had done the right thing. What, like the ones that sold all of their cattle off and stuff, and trying to, like in it's Denmark, Netherlands, those farmers, they've done the right thing. The ones that surrendered to the government, or the right thing. What, the vegan farmers? Those farmers are there to make the point that every farm in the country ought to be able to do a little bit of at least of what they do. I mean, if they're going to say organic farming's great, treating the animals as well as they can, grass-fed and all of this stuff, rather than these horrible feedlot things, which I think we have some, then yeah, that's fine. As long as it's a slow progression. We don't just jump to it and then we run out of food because we don't have any of the fertilizer that's not organic. So they cut down production. And then everyone sort of runs out of food and runs out of money, and the economy collapses exactly like what happened in Sri Lanka. And that's what I'd like to avoid. So, but yeah, a slow move to organic would be great. I'd love it. I love organic stuff. Here we go. Those farmers are there to make the point that every farm in the country ought to be able to, yeah, I said that, I'm so sorry. And that is, it's possible to farm alongside nature to make a profit, which is healthy food, and still run a business. Yeah, fair enough. But there's a lot of horrible regulations in that don't need to be there, I guarantee. It sounds nice on paper. She added that she hoped the young audience would be able to find the film, as they are used to streaming on iPlayer rather than watching a broadcast. I'm sure. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say something, but I wouldn't mind maybe downloading BBC iPlayer and watching this myself now. Maybe we'll come back to this. Caroline Lucas, the Green Party MP for Brighton Pavilion, said, for the BBC to censor one of the nation's most informed and trusted voices on the nature and climate emergencies is nothing short of unforgivable dereliction of its duty to public service broadcasting. Please put a comma in there. I might pass out. The government has taken a wrecking ball to our environment, putting over 1,700 pieces of environmental legislation at risk, setting an air pollution target which is a decade too late. Okay, how about no pollution decade? Actually, no, I don't want pollution. I don't think anyone does. Neglecting the scandal of sewage-filled waterways. Yeah, no, that's what I was on about, wasn't it? Which cannot go unexamined and unchallenged by the public. See, there's all these things that, like, I don't agree the BBC should be banning this stuff, even if it is just propaganda. I'm surprised it just comes straight from the Conservative Party anyway. But yeah, I mean, there is some other stuff to do with, like, air pollution target. Let's cut down the air pollution. No one likes pollution, that's great. But then people can't drive anymore, and we end up with these 15-minute cities, and then people can't work, people can't make money, and, economy goes to crap. So there's all these knock-on benefits, like you want to improve the environment, but not at the cost to everyone else, other than to the working class. Let's sacrifice the working class and the poor to save the planet. That's what it sounds like. Oh, wow, I sound condescending. Anyway, BBC bosses must not be cowed by antagonistic culture war stoking, government ministers putting populist and petty political games above delivering serious action to protect and restore our natural world. This episode simply must be televised. Yeah, this is probably because the Tory party fears about the upcoming election, where they're going to get absolutely crucified. Oh, don't want to show off my pit stones, but that's what this news article is to me anyway. At this point, it's getting really tiring. But yeah, so they want to, try and do the things that. Oh, We're losing in the polls. Quick, do the things the public actually wants and voted for us to do. And what's that? I don't know. What's Nigel Farage saying? It's pretty much how it goes. But I don't think he's saying to dump shit into the river. Hang on. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Told The Guardian at this time, blah, blah, blah. Stephen Moss, a natural historian and TV producer who's worked for the BBC on nature programmes. I don't really want to give these people an introduction. Often, if you lead an environmental industry, people generally turn off. Yes, because they don't want to hear about it and people don't believe you anymore. But if you drip feed it within the programmes and then hit people with a message at the end, when you convince them how brilliant wildlife is, it tends to work. Oh, so let's trick people into it. Oh, they put it out for you to see and read. I mean, it's hidden halfway down the page. But yeah, let's trick people into it. With Blue Planet, you got Theresa May standing up and Philip Hammond, the Chancellor at the time, saying, "This is the BBC at its very best." Yeah, well, where is she now then? She's actually at the hotel that I work at. Well, she's not there right now, but she has been. Anyway, I've not seen her, but I know she was there at some point. That's where she is. I don't know who Philip Hammond is. I've heard of him. I mean, I do like these things, you know, stuff with David Attenborough and all the animals and stuff. Stuff in British Isles would be good as well. You know, I can just tune out the manipulative messaging that's inside of it, the propaganda. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Tory politicians jump on the bandwagon and go on and on about how brilliant it is. They don't know about this one, I don't know about the past one. Oh, so he said, so maybe that will happen with this. Oh, we're coming to the end of the article, thank God. The charities involved in the programme have already using it to launch a campaign. An affiliate of BBC called Save Our Wild Isles. They have gained the support of National Trust, The Guardian understands. A BBC person said, Wild Isles consists of 5 episodes. Our Precious Isles, Woodland, Grassland, Freshwater and Ocean. Saving Our Wild Isles is a separate film inspired by the series commissioned by the RSP and WWF. We've acquired it for iPlayer. Please tell me there's no more. There's not. I agree with Gary Lineker on refugees, but you should delete this tweet for the sake of the BBC. How about we delete the BBC? Roger Bolton. Okay, who's Roger? I don't care who Roger is, but... Oh, The Guardian. Oh, sorry, I thought that meant I agree with... he does agree with Lineker on refugees. Sorry, I thought that was... I disagree. Oh, of course it's The Guardian. Another weird looking... Anyway, I wasn't supposed to read it. I'm not reading anymore, but about it. I don't really want to talk about Gary anymore. But anyway, if you have watched this, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. This has been Unrest Digest. Cheers, guys.